So I'm going to talk about this guy, Ilyas Khalid, or Christopher Braithwaite as his birth name is. I first met him in 2010 in Wakefield SEG. He came to Wakefield SEG when him and two others went in on a Serbian war criminal, this guy who was responsible for a massacre of thousands of Muslims. And they went in on him, were all tooled up. They went in to end him, although they were cleared of attempted murder and they were found guilty of wounding. I mean, they went in to end him. But the main thing with this, I didn't know at the time that he turned out to be a wrong 'un. This is what he was originally jailed for. I'll put it up on the screen now. But this is a bit of one of those dilemmas that seems to happen to a lot of people in prison when you've got someone who you regard as a mate. I mean, Ilyas, I was on a food boat with him. We used to chat together all the time. And it was only once he'd gone when I found out what he was actually in for. But when I found out, it was one of those, like the clues were always there. It was like, how did I not know? You know, being on normal location in Wakefield and stuff like that. And it was only later because that Krstic, the one who we went in on the Serbian guy from, I didn't know that was one of the people who he did it with. I knew what Krstic was in for, and I knew he was a horrible cunt. I just didn't like him. And I mean, it's a bit like I was a big fan of the band Lost Prophets back in the day. And then when the singer, Ian Watkins, turned out to be like one of the worst wrong-uns, I mean, you just can't listen to the music again. But I mean, because he was a Muslim and that, and he was a big guy, he was a handful. But he was one of those, because there was a time when I was on the CSC Unit and Reg made this cheesecake. There was 6 of us on at the time because me and Reg were the only 2 non-Muslims at the time. So you had Yusuf Patterson, a guy called Dean Cullen, Ilyas, and you had Adrian Hilton, another black Muslim. So Reg cut the cheesecake into 6, but he didn't know that Muslims couldn't eat gelatin. So he's just give me half, and then he's had half. And the next day, Reg said, "Did you eat all that cheesecake, half a cheesecake?" I went, "Yeah." Ilyas came and asked for a bit, though. But he's like, "Don't tell Yusuf." And he went, "Yeah." Well, Peddy, it was one of the other guys. He said, he come to me and he asked me for a piece of the cheesecake as well. But that, don't tell Yusuf. Because Yusuf was like, you know, the spiritual leader and all this kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, after the attack on the Serbian war criminal, he went on a normal location in Long Lartin. There he got done for stabbing a screw. And then he's gone to Woodhill and he's in. So I'm in Whitemore with him for about 9 months. And during that time, we're all. And another one little sign used to come. He used to always come to me secretly to borrow porn mags and stuff like that. But I didn't want any of the other Muslims to see. And then that was another sign where it was like, all the signs were there. And I reckon all the other people knew as well. You know, sometimes we'd sit there at a table eating our dinner and we're like, oh, these nonsense or something like that. Or something we on the news and that fucking dirty nonsense, something like that. And all the time he was there. But I found out he went to Woodhill for the trial of stabbing the screw in Long Lartin, and he was on like a 3-day trial or something like that, and he was gone for 2 weeks, and we were like, what's happened or something like that, and then no one knew what happened to him. So I remember ringing my sister and said, Google Ilyas Khalid, see if there's anything like Worcester local news or anything like that, see if there's anything. And it said, no, the only thing that came up was the original offence of stabbing the war criminal. It said, and then I didn't know what his real name was at the time. It said also known as Christopher Braithwaite, and it's got something like convicted of the area ape and the murder of whilst he was also on bail for it as well, another separate offence. So I've come back and I've told everyone all the other Muslims that, oh, we didn't know and all this kind of stuff, and I thought, yeah, did you really know and all that kind of stuff? But it was, yeah, all the signs are there. I mean, anyone who's been on normal location, well, you can't even call it normal location. Anyone who's been on the wing in Wakefield is kind of suspect straight away, unless you know the full background. But I've been to Wakefield and I used to be in the SEG, and a few times I'd go from the SEG to Strangeways. I went to Franklin from Wakefield, and people always say, "Oh, where'd you come from?" And you like say Wakefield, but the SEG. You'd always like you never want to come to a jail and say, I've just come from Wakefield. I remember when I was in Strangeways in the SEG once, and in the SEG you've got 2 exercise. Well, you used to have 2 exercise yards, the big yard and the small yard. And I'm on the small yard on my own because I'm on the CSC Unit. I've come from Wakefield, and it's about 8 people all in the big yard. And everyone's like, "Where have you come from?" We went Wakefield, and it was when John Venables was all in the news at the time, and I've got accused of being John Venables, and they're all asking like, "Why are you on the yard on your own then?" and stuff like that. But I don't know who thought it was a good idea to have a Bosnian war criminal who's serving years for genocide against Muslims. Someone must have thought, yeah, we'll let him serve his sentence in a British prison, in an English prison. You know, what could go wrong there? And he did later sue the prison service for 50 grand, and he was awarded 50 grand over the attack. And I used to joke with Ilyas as well, saying like 3 of us went in to do a 60-odd-year-old guy with one leg, and you couldn't even end him and stuff like that. But that's just prison dark humour. But yeah, when he did leave to go for that trial, I never actually saw him again. after that, so I've no idea where he is now. I think the Serbian's still in Wakefield, as far as I know. But that ends this video.